Hello, this is going to be another Python program video, and in this video we're going to concentrate on the variables. So what we'll do is we'll go through the variables, what they are, what you can use, and some of the rules in regards to using variables when you're dealing with Python programming. So let's go ahead and get started. So essentially a variable is a reserved memory location within your hard drive, meaning that you are storing a value within that allotted memory location, and then we just assign it like a variable name. I always like to think of it like a box, and then you're putting value in a box. The box can be as big as you want, given as much hard drive as you can have, and you can store pretty much anything in that variable. So here it is, it's a simple definition of it, and here's an example. The X would be our variable, and our 20 is the value that we are assigning into the variable. So in this example, the X would be equal to 20. So if I was to print out the variable X, it would provide me and display a value of 20. So we can create a lot of variables, and we can name variables accordingly. So you can also change the variable values with Python. What does this mean? It means, like, let's say we have the value of X equals 20. So our variable X is the value of 20. And I'll come along and I'll make a code change, and I'll say, well, X is now actually 15. So you can change those throughout your coding, all dependent on what you're trying to accomplish. Some of the rules within here that it abides by is it must start with a letter or an underscore character. It cannot start with a number. It can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores, such as A through Z, and also keep aware of case sensitivity, 0 through 9, and the underscore. And as I said before, case sensitive. So an example, if I was to create a capital AGE is equal to 51, and I come along and I also say capital A, capital G, capital E is equal to 20, those are two separate variables, each equaling two different values. Okay? All right, moving on. So the next thing I want to talk about is some of the legal, non-legal variable names. So here's just some examples. So here we have the legal or accepting variable names, such as the myvar, my underscore var, underscore, as well as the capital and non-capital, as you see here. You can have numeric, but it cannot be leading with a numeric, such as this one here. And these are a couple of those that are not acceptable as far as naming a variable. The other thing that you want to keep in mind when you're creating your variables is clear and concise, because if somebody was to come behind you and looking at your Python script, they may not understand what you're attempting to do. So if you're creating a variable, you want to make it a naming that makes it very clear of the attempt that you're providing. Also, if you're English, go ahead and write it in English, and no special characters, as we said before. The other thing is here, another example is, this is not a good variable name. And N equals 06/06/1971. If I was to come through, I may not understand what these numbers are supposed to be. So an N could be anything. So what number is this? So here's just an example of it. Might not be as clear when you're doing it. As opposed to here, we have a variable that is written correctly, and it's more legitimate and more clear and concise on what the value is supposed to be for that variable. One more thing I want to add is you can actually put in a couple of variables on the same line. So as an example here, I have two variables, an A, comma B, and within the parentheses I have the values of those same variables. So the 0 is the value of variable A, 42 is the value of variable B. And you can mix different data types. So in this example, I have again two variables, one called name, one called age. But if you notice, the values is a string or a alphabetic character type and a numeric or an integer. And this is what it would look like in Python. I would just simply type it out as this. And if I do a print name, it will print me that value as well as the age, and it will print that as well. So I hope this provides some definitions of variables and what you can and can't do with it, and I hope it clears a little bit and provides you some value.